Here we go, rocking and rolling. All right, boys. So let's go around the table here. Let me ask everybody the question that I ask everybody. What is a hill that you're willing to die on in regards to strength and conditioning? And what is something that you've changed your mind on within the last year? So, we'll start with you.
Yeah, dude. What I was dive dive for, I would keep everything as simple as possible because a lot of my athletes would show me like, "Hey, coach, can we try this?" And like they would show me some Instagram stuff, and it's like, I don't know, an athlete doing a depth drop with a jump over the hurdle and doing a 360 to another box. I'm just like, dude, why are we? Why do we need this? Let's keep things simple, okay? You can't even do a proper landing right without locking your knees together. So let's just take it step by step. Okay, that's what I think. Simple is better.
Right? Okay, makes sense. What do you got for something you change your mind about?
Uh, Sports specificity. Dude, I was taught to like worship that. Now, like the more experience I get, there's no such thing as sports specific because I talked to Jesus about this before because I think like this sports specific stuff is already done at their practice with their sports team.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree on that. It's a popular answer that we get. A lot of people abandon that sports specific training. Dawson, we'll go to you next. Same questions.
Yeah, so thinking about what I would die on. Honestly, if I had to choose one exercise that younger kid, older person, doesn't matter, I'm throwing them on a hill. I'm saying we're doing hill sprints. Run up that as fast as you can, as hard as you can. We'll walk down. Do it again. I personally believe that that's like one of the best exercises just to teach acceleration mechanics and it just teaches you so much and it's so simple and so easy to do that I mean to me that's like the gold standard right there. That's all you need. Obviously other things can supplement it. But yeah, that's I will say the hill sprints are one of my favorites. Um, if I had to choose one exercise. And then your other question was something I changed my mind about. That's a great question. I think as I kind of go along, because I do some training here in Minnesota as well at the training house. I think being creative and throwing different things at people, especially early on, to kind of challenge their coordination, and challenge their brain a little bit. I find that that actually helps them a lot because I just showed some younger kids like so rhythm skips, for example, and trying to hit it at different heights. And these kids could not even, they had no idea what to do and they looked awful. But I think just challenging, especially when they're younger, just challenging them with different movements, so they can learn how their body moves and have more body awareness and coordination and rhythm, I think is super important, that I've kind of realized as I've gone along. So.
Yeah, great points there. With the hill sprints, have you done a lot of hill sprints personally for yourself? I know that between your football and your track days, is that something that's been a staple of your program?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I was a huge fan of Les Spellman, and I saw a video
Shout
talking
out
about him,
Les.
and he had a friend who was an Olympic medal long jumper, and he talked about how he did that 20 times a day, 5, 6 times a week. Ended up doing that. Les did that as well, got his 40 time down to a 4.4. I was like, okay. So that's something I was like, well, let me experiment with it. So I threw it in. I didn't do it 6 days a week, but I'd throw it in 3, 4 days a week. Um, Hop out to a hill anywhere from 10 to 20 reps. That's all you need. And honestly, I've saw huge improvements, just in my own self and how I progressed along. So yeah, so I have used them quite a bit.
What's the 40 looking like right now? You able to disclose that?
It'd be tough to say a time and then not run that time, or vice versa, whatever. We'll say it's definitely below a 4.6. We'll just keep it there. But
Okay, okay. We're moving.
yeah,
Jesus,
so
same questions for you.
Safe number there, Dawson. I know you way faster than that. But the hill that down in like S and C, is like no exercise is bad. Like I remember when I was kind of learning the principles of strength conditioning. I was taught like full range of motion this. I was taught that you have to stay true to your principles, and I thought those principles were universal. Now working with different teams, working with different coaches, you realize like at the end of the day, it's what do you want? If you want someone strong, you could do whatever you want with that, as long as more weight is being added to the bar, or they're just pushing whatever they're pushing a lot harder, maybe pushing it faster. You could conclude that hey, this person is getting stronger at that movement, at this exercise. So overall adaptation is they're stronger. So I'm never gonna shy away from an exercise as long as I can execute it and as long as I understand it. I feel like I would program it for a team, but I also wouldn't program anything that I can't do myself because that's not fair to anybody. So the hill, nothing is bad. Do it as long as you can progress it and it looks fun, it looks fine, and it's engaging. Like go ahead and do it. Who cares? It's exercise. As long as you get what you want out of it, no waste of time there. Something I learned this past year, I learned two things. One was very similar to what Dawson was talking about last week. That same guy I mentioned before you press record, Alonzo Davis, working at D1, his biggest takeaway, because he did a biomechanics research project comparing a trap bar deadlift and a straight bar deadlift. And at the end of the day, his not his final conclusion, but what he took out of it as a coach is people do not know how to use their butt, is what he would say. Like people just do not, because he used EMG activation. He's like, people don't know how to really use their butt. So he's inferring that they're lacking full full awareness on how to use that muscle, even though it's a hip hinge. We use hamstring, we should use our glutes. People don't do it. They just all nothing but hamstring. So he teaches coordination no matter what age you are, no matter your experience level. Day one, we went with banded squat. So he had me in a squat position, put a band around my butt, and he's like, all right, I want you to really get that your hips back and just feel it. His biggest key was just feel it. So
Mm-hmm.
teaching coordination and teaching a feeling for a movement is something I'm learning to like implement in warm-ups, learning to use on myself, and hopefully his result with his kids, and granted these are kids, so I don't know if it works or not, with his kids is that he made one guy broad jump random number 5 feet to 7 feet in a span of 4 weeks, maybe less, and he only did coordination work. So did he get stronger? Who really knows? Zoe's not, his name's Zoe. Zoe's not testing numbers or testing weight strength. He's just giving him any weight, maybe keeping it the same, and teaching him coordination. So at the end of the day, he had him move better or look better and look rhythmic as he moves. So learning coordination and prioritizing that, something I want to start looking more into. Also, is not needing to change exercises so frequently. Like I feel like this past 6 or 7 months, I've just been doing kind of anything or not anything. I've been keeping bench in my program. And some would say like, you should either change up the exercise or you get bored of it, etc. And I say whatever. As long as I mitigate or manage my volume, manage my intensities, like I should be fine going forward. I could do one exercise the rest of my life as long as there's improvement. And I was able to get my bench up there. So I feel like if it's working, there's no need to change it. Like you really don't have to, and unless you're aiming for something new. But if you just want to be strong and have a big bench, keep it. There's no need to do anything else. So I feel
Yeah,
like
don't
those are
fix
two
it
new
if it ain't
things.
broke.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. So obviously we all know each other from our time as University of Oregon interns, but let's go around, give a brief introduction on your SSC background, where you're working at now, places you worked at before. We'll start with you.
Yeah, so my journey was extremely last minute in this field. I was on my last semester as a senior in college, and my train of thought was like going straight to physical therapy. Um, and then I find out I didn't like working with patients, working with already like injured people who will probably end up not going back to what they used to. Also, growing up in an Asian household, we are expected to like be more in the medical field. And when I told my parents, "Hey, this ain't for me," a little disappointed, but they got over it. And I was introduced to strength and conditioning in this private sector, and I took and a little weird about it, but I ended up liking it. Then told my parents, "Hey, I want to be a strength coach. What is that? I don't know. Let's just trust the process." And yeah, I've been on that private sector for like a year. Still didn't do any strength conditioning related stuff, and all of a sudden got an internship at the university I graduated at, University of New Orleans. And the guy that taught me like the flow of the weight room, coaching philosophy, or any of that, his name's Chris Tucci. Um, yeah, just taught me everything. Taught me how to use coaching voice. I was a little weird at first because I was intimidated by these athletes. I was a power lifter. It's an individual sport, and then I got surrounded with all these team athletes. I was like, oh shoot, this is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it flew naturally to me, and it was a small D1 college, and he told me, hey, you need to get out of here. Like you've done what you needed here. Find somewhere else. My goal was to be a GA already, but the only opportunity I got was like a small school, like D3, D2, NAIA. And then he was like, nah, dude, you gotta go big. I was like, all right. Put in hell applications like, I don't know, Villanova, Duke, Oregon. And then Oregon popped up. And it was my first football experience. I never like knew anything about football. I was more of a basketball guy growing up, and then went to Oregon, made the biggest commitment of leaving the state that I stayed at for the most of my life. And yeah, just met y'all. I met both of y'all. Got to educate myself more in football, and I got a phone call saying like, "Hey, you want to be GA for a football program in Miami?" Um, NAIA school, St. Thomas, probably one of the biggest programs in NAIA. And yeah, that's where I end up at now. Got my team that I was assigned is football, men's and women's volleyball, and my women's volleyball team just won conference championship. So I just got a ring to start off my
Nice.
first year as a
Congrats.
GA, man. Should I take credit for that? Shoot,
There might be some correlation there.
right? But yeah, no. After this GA, hopefully, everybody's dream is to go to a Power Four school to start off with, but we'll see how things go. I mean, Flash already saw my message with some other coaches that connected with me, so we'll just see how the time will take. I'll just let the process go through.
Yeah, man, trust the process. It's a grind, but the ceiling is the limit.
Oh yeah, man.
Dawson, let's go to you.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, so I'm from a small town, Kindred, North Dakota. So out in North Dakota, there's really not, a whole lot out there. So you have to be pretty creative on what you do. I grew up outdoors all the time, and obviously I wanted to pursue football at the time, looking to college. And so I was looking around, with my dad and whatnot, and we came across the training house, which is actually partnered with TCO, and it's basically where the Vikings their field is and all their facilities. Like it's all right there. So we heard about them. We're like, okay, so let's go check it out. So we took a trip, 3.5 hours up here. Met Bill Welly, and for those that don't know Bill Welly, he's one of the top premier coaches out there. I hope all of you look him up and try to meet him one time in your life and learn something because you can learn a lot from him. But yeah, when I got there, it turned out that one of the interns that they're going to bring on just decided to quit like 2 weeks before they were supposed to start. And we just got happened to talking to him, and then one thing led to another, and I ended up getting my first internship at the training house under him. Him and Eric Perkins, some of these guys. So that was my first real experience of, okay, so this is what it looks like training people. And so at the facility, you can do the sports performance side, but with that internship, we were allowed to shadow, the athletic trainers, the PTs, they have a lab in there as well. So I was able to get in there and look at some force plate testing, and they had some other stuff in there as well. So that really was my first big experience of learning all these different things that I didn't know a whole lot about. But then went through that, and then it kind of led me to this Oregon opportunity that kind of arose out of nowhere. My dad just happened to meet somebody that knew a guy out there. And then again, one thing led to another. Now got to intern with all you guys, which was an awesome experience. Obviously, not every day in the weight room was great, as you can all attest to, but it was a blast. I mean, I had a great time, and obviously, you learn so much in an environment like that. Um, Especially if you want to be a strength coach at a higher level, like that is top of the top that you can get. So that was, I mean, a tremendous experience, learning opportunity there. And that kind of circles back to where I'm at now. So, I mean, I'm not a GA or a strength coach because I'm actually trained. For those that don't know, I'm training for the a pro day right now to play in the NFL. But so I'm at the training house, I'm training, but I also am training on the side there, some younger kids, some high school, typically your high school football players and whatnot. And so that's where I think you can gain valuable experience training younger kids because you have to articulate and communicate kind of what you want you have to dumb it down and make it very simple. And if you can teach young kids how to go through the movements you want, then training older people is so much easier. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So of
Nice. Good luck in that NFL journey. Don't forget us small people when you make it big.
of course.
Jesus, your turn.
Yeah, so I'm a current grad assistant, technically just an assistant strength coach or a sports performance coach, but it's the same thing. It's a small position at Cal State Fullerton. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I go to school in Anaheim, just a city over. I didn't really get into sports performance strength conditioning until after I graduated. I interned here at Fullerton during the summer of 24. And I didn't really know anything. I didn't take a lot of S&C classes. I just knew I liked kinesiology. I knew I liked to lift. I thought I was pretty strong. Next thing you know, I'm like, well, I'm actually really weak, and I have a lot more to learn, a lot more to do. Used to be athletic, now I'm just slacking off. So, intern here, got to see what it's like to train men's basketball and women's basketball for the whole summer. It was a lot of fun because we got to do small group training. I got to be in charge of the bigger guys, so we just got to focus on rest times, nutrition, just harp on them, make sure they get slim and get big at the same time. So it was just a good time in terms of, hey, I'm learning. If I make mistakes now, like it's okay. I'm just an intern, and I'm learning the foundation of what it takes to make someone better, and that's what really drew me in. Afterwards, a position opened up. I did a good job being an intern, and they found out I was going to be a grad student afterwards. And all stars just aligned, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to, be a part-time coach here?" Took the opportunity, started training men's and women's golf, and then women's tennis last year. Did that for a year. It's pretty tough. We're new to training. I got to one talk to these kids that some of them don't even want to train, and it's a very small group, so it's easier. But at the end of the day, just it was basically forcing them to do something. And as much as I love that, and I love my teams now, I had a need to like, I need to see what it's like to train at the next level, train with the top team. So I'll hop on Instagram, look at internships going on. I see one at Oregon, apply for it, got to meet you dudes. That was honestly one of the greatest things in my life. I came back with so much more confidence and so much more just knowledge of speed and knowledge of just how to actually train hard. Shout out on first day we met, first day we worked out. Easy arm workout. You just nudge my thumb up a bit. Next, my forearms are on fire, and I'm like, all right, bet, learn it. So I'm a big sponge in this field where all I really care about is how can I make you better and how can I fill any needs you have. You being anything related to sport or related to human performance, I guess. So being that sponge now, I currently work with track and field, and I'm really blessed and I'm really thankful to work with the sprinting side of track because I think that is a population I hold close to my heart. I was a track runner in high school, and I think speed coming from Oregon, learning from or seeing Les Spellman in person, talking to Kyle Bowman, even talking to Mark Davis on Oregon, like speed is just game changer. So if you could understand how to work around that and train that and just make that better, like, hey, you're gonna be a top end coach one day. So that's like my next big goal is just really mastering that and then getting my master's right now. And hopefully finding a team that sees value in me and I too see value in them where I could be their own personal full-time strength conditioning coach. And that's it.
Nice. It's a dope journey. So obviously we all valued our time at Oregon. Built great bonds there, learned a lot. So what's something that each of you think you learned or picked up from Oregon that you're bringing with you to your future training? Just kind of open it up. Anybody want to go first with that one?
Oh yeah, I can go. So I ain't gonna lie. I thought I learned a lot already being at my first internship at New Orleans because Oregon's a big facility, right? Five, six strength coaches with 10, 12 interns, so they can't really give you that one attention to you unless you're like a straight standout intern, you know. Yeah, I got that one-on-one experience with my first internship, and I thought like, yeah, this is enough. Then boom, I was already told like, yeah, just so you know, there are other guys out there that are even better than you. And I was like, all right, we'll see what I can see the type of people I'll meet. Then like, I met Flash, Jesus, Scott, Dawson, Speed, Triphasic, um, multiple methods of learning. I'm like, wow, I just did not know any of this. And then Coach Bolt showed me field work. What else? Coach Davis, his philosophy with return to play, and I was like mind blown. I was like, okay, there's a lot more to learn than just one place. Um, and also like going back with Jesus, like as an intern, my first mentality was I have to be the best one, but really you have to be a sponge. You have to like accept criticism. You got to accept like your method was probably wrong or was a little like misread. So you gotta like learn how to adjust, adapt, and just learn new things and put it towards your career. And that's like the one thing that really helped me out, as well as me and Coach Bolt before like a week before I left Oregon. Me and him sat down one-on-one, talked. I asked him for feedback, and he gave me like the harshest feedback, and I took it. I took it like a man. And to this day, dude, to this day, I never changed after that. Because what I wasn't used to us waking up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., setting up, and then later spending time, what, like 12 hours in there? And then I was like all sluggish, bad body language. And then Coach Bo was like, yeah, and when you first got here, you were like a really great intern, right? Like I relied on you for like the Olympic lifts and I gave you more responsibilities. But then as time went by, you changed. Like you weren't the same guy from week 1 through 4. And now like I'm starting to like not rely on you more. And I was like, damn, coach. All right. All right. I see. So yeah, so after that talk from my GA, it's been like what 7 months. And everybody told me like I had the highest energy to start things off. And it's been the same way. And I was like, all right, I'm doing something right. That one-on-one talk is much needed. So yeah, moral of this is be a sponge, take criticism, don't take it to heart, learn to adjust. That's that's what I learned a lot from our journey.
Yeah, no, I agree with you with the whole the energy that you bring to the sessions and whatnot. I think that's something that I learned at Oregon too. I think before I got there, I would consider myself more of like the program design kind of coach to where, I thought I made a decent program that was perfect for the athletes. And I kind of set the stage for them almost like in the mindset of I'm giving you the tools to build the house, but it's up to you to build it. Not to say that, I wouldn't correct form or anything like that, but I would observe a lot in the weight room and kind of go from there. But, some of the things that I picked up from Coach Love that I still kind of hold on to is, don't no hands in the pockets, no hands on your hips. You got to be buzzing with energy because at the end of the day, obviously there's various levels to it. You got Oregon football. There's a level of commitment that those players have to being great, to chasing championships, to trying to play at the next level. But you go to some of the, whether it be smaller colleges, high schools, even private facilities like that, you're always going to have some athletes that just don't have that drive in them because, they might have not even been recruited to be on that team. Somehow they might have just ended up. So if you can, manage getting athletes to buy in, creating an environment for them to where the energy just radiates and they have no choice but to rock with the energy. I think that goes a long way to someone's coaching style.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I
Like,
I agree with you.
yeah, no, like, dude, football especially, they're the first guys in the weight room. You're going to be the first guy that they see to start off their day. Like, nobody wants a sluggish coach looking like, oh, they don't want to be here. Now they're going to feed through that energy. They're like, man, if he doesn't want to be here, why should I be here? You know, like,
Exactly.
dude, Coach Love is already there 3:30 in the morning, getting his lifts in, and then the moment he sees a player, he just yells, and like just does the most funniest stuff to get the guys like rolling, get them like hyped and stuff. Like that's the type of influence I want to put on to the athletes. Um, and yeah, no, the hands in the pocket, folding your arms, hands behind your back. I started like telling people stuff, even like the position, the full timers at my GA ship. Even though I'm just a GA, I had the guts to like go up to a position coach or like any other strength coach. If I see them with hands in the pocket, I would just grab their hand, just throw it out of their pocket, or like just aggressively put their arms down. Like look like your hands are doing something. Don't just cross your arms, hands in your pocket. Like not that bad body language stuff, man. Athletes are watching.
Ways. Yeah, a lot of psychology goes into it. Dawson, Jesus, either one of you guys want to chime in next?
Yeah, I got you. Because you guys said some great stuff there, and so I'm gonna kind of go along with that. Is that you have to hold yourself to the standard before you can hold your athletes to the standard. And especially apparent at Oregon, like these players will call you out if you are not at
Hmm.
the standard. And I don't know, I'm sure that happened with all you at some point, happened certainly with me, I'm sure at some point. I think so. But yeah, like they have to understand that you put your body through, I don't want to say hell, but you put your body through a lot of pain, a lot of struggle to get better and grow. And if they see that out of you, they're like, okay, this guy actually puts in the work. He's consistent. He's um cons it was like emotional consistency. I think that's what Kinsey said. I forgot the exact term of it. But just consistency in general is huge. And so that's something that I'll take away personally from Oregon and bring into everywhere I go is that consistency aspect. Now I've always been good at consistency, but I feel there's always room for more improvement. Like you could show up 7 days a week, 24/7, right? But there could be something that you could just be a little bit better at. So always learning, always growing, holding yourself to that standard to be able to hold others to that standard. So.
Yeah, definitely. That standard goes a long way, and you're right. You got to be consistent. I think we probably heard the same message from Kinsey, where it was like, it don't matter if you're having a bad day at home, if you're sick, if you didn't get sleep, like it don't matter. Find a way. I think that's the biggest thing that I kept hearing at Oregon was find a way. If you're hurt, your right leg's bothering you when we're doing lateral squats, find a way to get it done. You already picked up the dumbbell, find a way. So yeah,
Yeah.
excellent stuff.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just gotta fake the juice until that juice becomes real, man.
Yeah. Great quote. Great quote. Jesus, what you got?
Yeah, I'm honestly, I agree. I love what you guys are saying. Like consistency is key. Like we're the first face they see. If I low key became not a mini love because nobody could be like Coach Love. That dude is insane, and I love it.
Buddy.
But but I get like track and field 4 p.m. or 7 a.m. on Fridays, and they just finished 2 to 3 hours of sprinting in the hot sun. They don't want to be in the weight room. They especially don't want to squat heavy, and they see my face and they're like, "Oh, this guy. How do I hype him up? I gotta be loud. I gotta be excited for them. So if I'm not like that, like they're not gonna want to be in the room. So I really do like what you guys are saying. But I think the biggest thing I took away from Oregon, and it's lovely because these guys are kind of our idols. At least it sounds like we're all idolizing these coaches: Kent, Bo, Love, Davis, etc. But at the end of the day, we are support staff. Like we are not in the limelight, and our job is not just weight room. And we all did it at Oregon. It's how can you make this person physically able to do something, finding a way to do something. Either that's putting out code tubs for them, that's priming them up during a meeting, like things we did. Um, that we didn't do it ourselves, but we saw nutritionists checking their hydration, like being 1% better, kind of just to what Dawson said. I feel like that is something I learned, or we got to find ways to make this better for our athletes. Like me being
Wearing
an
the
assistant coach,
pesticide backpack and spraying them down with ice water.
wearing a whole ghost, I even know what to go, like the pesticide backpack, but yeah, on our back, hot sun, spraying them down, like just finding ways to make them better. And sometimes it's terrible. Like it puts us in a position where we have to really check our own egos. Like, yo, am I above this? And at the end of the day, we're not. If it's for the athlete, like it's good for them. Or like I was about to say, like I'm me and my friend in the background and other coaches that are part time here. In the past, like they would just come in here, do their 20 hours a week, and then go home. So not put in more work. But then after being at Oregon, after seeing the dedication that Love would be, he would beat us interns. He would beat us in the weight room and already be done with his workout and still have twice as much energy than all of us. I'm like, all right, I gotta find ways to help on my athletes. We got them on shakes that I got piled up right here. They come in the weight room, we work hard, and I know for a fact, these dudes are not gonna get big unless they get a shake. So mandatory shake, chug it now, and then dip out of the room. And it's just that it's a small gesture, but I feel like those gestures really start to accumulate. If you got bad knee pain or bad shoulder pain, I'm like, hey, you got 10 minutes, like let's sneak in the weight room and come stretch real quick, or like come floss, or come do a certain ISO exercise, anything. And as long as we are here to support that, like they did in Oregon, even the sports science staff, shout out Ben, and I feel like that could just take the athlete a long way farther. Just being there for them at the end of the day, because they're the spotlight. We're just holding up the camera, holding up the lights for that, and I just love that about Oregon.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's great answers. It sounds like we all, took away a lot from our time out there in Eugene. It's a great experience. I reminisce about it all the time. A little bit different of a question. So, what do you guys think about not necessarily the program design at Oregon, but the use of so much equipment? Obviously, we had the staff to be able to set up that kind of stuff, with, 10 to 12 interns. But um, do you guys think that if you have the manpower available, that style of training is beneficial, or do you believe in more simplicity, or what's the thoughts on the hour and a half setup and takedown?
All right. So I have mixed feelings about this because at the time, being the guy to load up those plates on the field, being the guy to put landmines for a back exercise when you could ideally do that with either just a barbell or a dumbbell out on the turf. At the time, it sucks. At the time, you don't want to be that guy to set up, and you think. And I even thought myself, I'm like, if I was programming for this, if I want a back exercise and I want them to pull heavy weight for 8 reps, because I think they did landmine for 8 reps, like why do I not just grab our 200-pound dumbbells that we have in the weight room for alignment? Like they're able to rip
Or
that.
the hammer
But
row machine that's right around the corner?
or hammer rows right around the corner. Like we had so much equipment to make our lives easier, and at the time I hated it. But then I'm looking back now, and I'm like why? And I'm trying to find reasons to it because I don't want to just say it was worthless or pointless. So I'm just like, why would these coaches do that? And our Coach Drew, the lineman coach, like he was a previous lineman for Carolina, right? And then I know for a
Mhm.
fact he played college ball. But I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to understand why. How can I convince myself like this is important? And I'm like, all right, let me put myself in his shoes. He probably has done that himself, and he probably understands there's like maybe there's some culture behind of doing something absolutely difficult and absolutely new, where it just kind of gets them going even more. So I think I'm assuming here is it is important if it drives that train of hey, let me do something awesome, do something hard, but that's again giving reason to it. If you ask me personally, if I can do something that's easier on setup and saves us time, I'm gonna do that. If it gives me the same adaptation, I'm gonna do that because it's efficient. But if it's a drive, like here at Fullerton, we had to do strongmans for a little bit for our and basketball teams and golf teams because they wanted to go through something tough. It was horrible to set up strongman. Think of tire flips, think of carries, think of sleds, all outdoors. Terrible setup. It takes almost an hour to set it up for 9 guys. But if the idea is these guys want to do something hard, I'm gonna get that done for them. So it's a little bit of both, but again, me personally, I wouldn't if it's just to get a stronger back or a faster throw, whatever the adaptation is, whatever I'm trying to chase. If I can find the easiest way to get there, I'm gonna do that first.
Good answer. Good answer. Dawson on.
My thought behind that, with all that equipment, I can see why. Because once you transfer from like a big school to a small school, now you gotta like be super creative to get certain movements with different variations. Like you're gonna go with the hammer back to now a regular dumbbell row or a barbell pen row. For me, the way how I see it, it's just to help those athletes buy into the lift because those athletes don't want to do the same basic movements for the next 4 or 6 weeks. So the way how I see it is just like put extra stuff there so that way their mind can be satisfied with the thought of using new equipment, doing new move, doing the same movement but with just different stuff instead of me spamming dumbbell row, barbell row, just the basic stuff. Um, if I was in their shoes, I might do that too. I might take advantage with all the equipment if I have the manpower because right now I gotta like be very creative with what I have, and it does take time to set up, especially by myself, and transitioning to a different team who would finish either 5 minutes before my team comes or just literally the time when my team comes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of add on to that as well. Just thinking about the place and the environment, I think there's too much time spent with like the coaches going through, like they've already planned everything out. They understand like they have to be efficient with their time. They have to have all these things in place, right? And they have the manpower to do it. Like we're all there. Like they know that we are useful and can help them out in that aspect. So I think there's just too much like money and too much into it for us to then just say like, oh well, they should have done this, but it's like, well, they probably spent hours and hours, thinking about, okay, what's the best exercise to get the our best bang for our buck. Obviously at times it doesn't seem like, okay, why, like we can certainly question at times, well, why would we bring all this here and do this? But yeah, I just think there's too much time and investment with these coaches into what they're doing that they definitely have a great plan in what they're doing, and that's why they're doing it that way, to put it simply.
Yeah. No, I think you guys touched on good points and kind of combining all the thoughts there. It's kind of something that I do like when I write programs for like personal training clients or somebody as well. Like nobody, it doesn't matter like the age, likes to do the same workout for whatever, 4, 6, 8 weeks, even if kind of what you said, Jesus, if that's what's going to take to get you stronger, just doing bench press. So that's something that I kind of do is mix it up. So like I'll do 2 weeks of like barbell rows, then 2 weeks of like a pendlay row, then like 2 weeks of a gorilla row. So basically, we're doing the same movement, but just kind of making slight changes to it just to keep the mind kind of stimulated so it doesn't seem so monotonous as you're going through things. So I think that's a good point that you guys brought up to, mix it up for the athletes, make sure that they're getting, a new stimulus mentally and physically as well. Um, Next question I have. So, something that I hear a lot from strength coaches is that they program super basically because they think that their athletes that they train are bad athletes. And it's like, I look at the program and I'm like, well, you're the strength and conditioning coach, you're the performance coach. Like, what are you doing to make them better athletes? It's like if we have slow athletes on the field, and let's say their reactive time is slow or their reactive strength is bad, why are we not giving them like depth to hurdle drops or something like that? You look in the program, they're just doing like basic squats. So, are you guys more believers that to keep it on the conservative side for athletes and kind of progress them into harder exercises, or are you more of the philosophy to kind of give them challenging exercises, give them essentially problems to solve on a movement basis?
For me, it's always like the quality of the movement rather than how heavy you can do it or how fast and reactive. Because I can have a guy that runs a 4.4, but his mechanics probably suck, and then he's gonna end up with a long term, who knows, injury that's gonna crawl up on him one day. Like you can run a 4.4 now, but can you run that 4.4 in the next like couple of years? Does that make sense? I think we should start off basic first and see if they can do the movement, and then we can slowly progress them through it. If something is wrong, then it's our job as the coaches to be very critical with how we see things, like cue them, even if the smallest stuff, even whether it's like depth, knee caving, or if the bar even touches the chest. Like we have to be very, very strict with the movements in order to like allow them to progress up. Because athletes, how do I put this in a nice way? They don't really think that straight, especially when we give instructions or what we expect of them. So we have to be really strict with them.
Yeah, they can't even remember how many reps they're supposed to do when it's right there on their iPad
Exactly.
or on their whiteboard.
Exactly. It's funny. I had an athlete literally this morning. He was doing a bent over dumbbell row. Um, I told him, hey, bring your legs in a little bit. He brings his legs out. And then I told him, strain your back, tighten your core. He rounded his back all the way to like a full circle. And I just looked at him. I was like, are you okay? And I was like, do you even know what I'm talking about? He's like, yes. And and I was like, okay, you're lying to me, and now you're doing the opposite of what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah. Jesus, Dawson, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a tougher question to answer because you have to build the foundation in younger athletes, right? You have to always build their foundation. And even in older athletes, you still have to work on the fundamentals, like the simple things that a lot of people kind of overlook. Um, I think that's super important. But at the same time, you also have to challenge them in a lot of different ways. Now, that could be, I know you're a huge fan of the goat drill, for example, running the figure eight and that's a very, I would say, kind of a chaotic drill. Challenge or
That's the
giving you a lot
point.
of
Yeah.
different things. Yeah. Giving you a lot of different things to do. Um, Now I'm not saying that I don't necessarily prescribe that. I think it's a great drill. I haven't brought too many athletes through it myself. But I think that it's important to challenge athletes, like their coordination, their rhythm, how they move. So it's kind of two sides of the coin, if that makes sense. So
Makes sense. Jesus, take us home on that.
Yeah. I mean, I very much agree with Dawson because there's this principle, or I guess it's pyramid, that my boss, his name's Alex Curro, he instilled upon me. It's from Al Vermeil. If you don't know who that is, you should look him up. But Al Vermeil, he developed this pyramid of creating a foundation first. And I don't know if this exact kind of tiers is correct to his, but this is what we kind of talk about here in Fullerton, where like you got to build a culture first, like understand what the weight room is, understand rules, understand what good movement, but only focusing on like kind of general movement patterns of push, a pull, a row, a squat, like things we typically talk about. Once you establish good rhythm and understanding respect for that rhythm or for that movement, then you start to apply more resistance to it. And then you build a foundation of pure strength. And after you get them somewhat strong, you start to see that start to starts to make everything else better, starts to make them a little more reactive, starts to make them a little more bouncy. Even though you're not training for that, like it just happens to help because the foundation for everything is how much force can you produce? How strong are you as an athlete? So I think yes, I will be on the conservative side if it's needed. Like if they really don't know what they're doing and they look terrible, and I'm gonna hurt somebody if I put them on a squat by accident where they round their back. Or you reminded me about the goat drill, Dawson. I gotta run myself through that. Forgot about that drill completely. Or like they can't. I probably can't even handle the goat drill myself right now. You tell me a number, I'm gonna tell you a color. Um, like at that point it's not worth it, so let's be conservative. But then if you get somebody that got good coordination, they're just a freak, they just know what they're doing, then just escalate it. You want them to be faster, that's low key a top athlete right there. You make them do something fast, make them run the hill, make them go over speed. I don't know, I don't care what you do, but if you look good doing everything else that's not fast, make them do something fast. So I agree completely with what Dawson said. It's like it really depends, really depends.
Yeah, interesting. So I think I probably have like one of the more controversial opinions on that. So obviously, like if somebody's doing like a barbell movement or an exercise like that, I'm a stickler with their form, but I like to throw my athletes out to the wolves. And, to a certain standpoint, I don't really care if they do it wrong. I want them to learn how to do it right on their own. Like I can't, for somebody who is, uncoordinated, like I'll take hurdle hops for an example. If I demonstrate hurdle hops, that's something that I'm efficient at. I know, where my body's at in space. I know how to get off of the ground, so I can demonstrate it good. But for the young athletes who are uncoordinated, who look terrible doing their hurdle hops, I can't feel what they feel. So I need them to go through it on their own by me showing them the good example and them doing the bad example. So, when I've been training groups of youth athletes, having them do hurdle hops or single leg bounds, single leg skips, they most of the time, the newcomers, they all start off looking terrible through them. I'll reinforce the good cues and let them know, but I don't ever really regress the exercise what it is. Obviously, like I said, it's different when if it's a strength movement, but what I've noticed is that forcing the athletes to do that exercise to adapt, it ultimately makes them better. Like if I keep making them do those hurdle hops, keep doing the hurdle hops, be quicker off the ground, keep your chest up, they're going to eventually, it's going to click for them. They're going to get it right. If we're doing single leg bounce, same thing. A lot of the athletes, if they don't have the coordination or the balance, they'll end up putting that opposite foot down, or their skips are like 6 inches at a time instead of big, strong bounds. Eventually, it's going to click for them, and they're going to be able to move their body through space. So that's something that, like I said, it's a controversial opinion, but I like to throw my athletes out to the wolves. I like to have them figure stuff out for themselves. Yeah, Jesus, you got an opinion on that?
I got experience on that because I remember coming back from Oregon. What was the name? Radcliffe, the track guy, the track coach that we're
Hmm.
talking to a lot. And even Mark Davis would say this, like, he's like, I'm sprinting everybody. Like, I don't care what, if you're a golfer, like you swing that club fast, right? What's the fastest thing the nervous system can do is a sprint. So I'm like, all right, cool. I really bought into that. So like I had experience, like, let me sprinkle that into my golf teams. They trust me a lot. As long as I really manage the volume of it, like like we should be fine. So we started off super light, like kind of very, very extensive, or I should say light, but extensive plyos, ease it into intensive plyos. Started jogging a little bit, barely 10-yard baby sprints, like not even a full sprint, just kind of just get it down. Looks kind of ugly. We try to cue them up to get a good drive at the ground, do some wall drills, and most of their sprinting at this point is maybe 15 to 20 yards, so not far at all. So you wouldn't think anything would happen. But then I started to see some collapse in my own athletes. I got a girl with a strained quad. I got a girl with some knee issues. And I got girls with just super sore ankles and calves just because they never done stuff like that before. And they're older, I guess. And, this is golf. So it's just not related to their sport at all, but it's just building an athletic base is what my thought process was. And I'm like, damn, I really had good intentions with this and I wanted them to be good. And they're jumping off the plates because the assessment we do here is force plates. They're jumping off the plates faster, higher, producing good power. MRSI is looking better, so they're just a little more reactive on the snap down to the jump, but they're hurt and they're not available. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is where I messed up and this is where I got to tone it back and maybe be a little more conservative on how I prescribe things. So I agree with what you're saying and I've done it myself, but it bit me in the butt and it thankfully was no severe injury where they're out for a while, but it was nagging stuff and I just didn't want my athletes to go through that. And I'm just like, all right, now either one, I got to look back at exactly how we maybe handled those things wrong, because those like speed, power movements are very, especially plows and sprinting, very taxing on the joints, very taxing on the connective tissue. And if they're not ready for it, it's got showed to me that they're gonna get nagging injuries from it. So I wish I stayed a little more conservative at that time and just be like, they just stick to what's been working for us now. And yes, still add some extensive and intensive plows, but we don't need to go into the sprints just yet. We could have delayed that a lot longer instead of just letting them learn as they go because it bit me in the butt.
That's a fair point with the injury management. Obviously, it's our job. The best athlete is the most available athlete. So, there's definitely some nuances into exposing them to new modalities while also, managing that injury risk that kind of thing just comes along with trial and error, kind of like what you're doing right now. Um, you got something on that?
Yeah. Just like coming back to you, like saying like you would throw your athletes to the fire. I'd say like I've done that. I actually did that not too long ago. The cleans probably one of the Olympic list, probably a complicating thing to do, especially for those that even never did that. So you traditionally you're supposed to like break it down to like 4 or 5 movements, however you do it. I just don't I would try to break it down to 2 movements, and then the next day I was like, all right, let's go straight to it. I would just teach them like the hinge and then the shrug and then the catch,
Mhm.
sometimes all in once. And then next day, and then once I see, all right, just cue them up a little bit, see like what needs to be cleaned up. Then the next day, hey, let's do the cleans, put everything together. They'll do the clean. Some can actually get it. Like there are athletes that can actually like get that really quickly. And then some you just need like cue up just a little bit, like elbows high, violent with your shrug, hips through, you know? So I say like that method does sometimes work, but going back to Jesus, it does sometimes backfire because I we can have athletes that can, I don't know, get hurt from the cleans, just catching it wrong or like just hurting their back. And then sometimes I'll get athletes that can just get it down really quickly once I throw them in that fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me jump in here too. I think it's great to throw athletes in the fire during the movement stuff, the movement prep, that type of thing, because you talked about the hurdle hops and whatnot. I think that's so much easier and has so much more value for athletes than like in a weight room, like teaching them cleans, for example, or whatever the case may be. I think there's just more value in the movement side, and again, having them try to feel like their body awareness, coordination. I've said that a lot, but that's what we're going to come back to in creating great athletes. So
Yeah. No, good points, boys. I like that. Last thing we'll wrap up with this question. What's everybody's hot take for the strength and conditioning field? Controversial opinion, hot take, whatever you got. Y'all need a second to think on that. I can give you mine if y'all need to
Give
think.
us yours, Flash.
All right. So my hot take is that as a strength and conditioning coach, strength is the least of my worries. I don't even care about that. And so I look at it from the field like let's say we have a soccer team training. What's the goal of strength and conditioning pretty much period for any team? I don't think it's necessarily to make them stronger. I think it's to make them better at their sport. That's my focus. That's what I want to do. So taking that into account, when we look at something like I'll use that soccer team example. If I have 2 hours a week to train the soccer team, do I need to do an upper body day? Do I need to do a bench press? Is them increasing their bench press by 30 pounds going to help them on the soccer field? In my opinion, it's not. I'm going to maximize my 2 hours. We're going to do, if we're not already doing some type of sprint work or speed work, we're going to do speed. We're going to do hurdle hops. We're going to do a lot of ISOs. We're going to do some type of conditioning. I'm going to do, a lot of the weird band stuff y'all saw me do at Oregon to get their body moving fast because ultimately to me that's how I can make them a better athlete to be better at their sport. So that's my hot take. I don't care about strength as a strength coach.
Yeah, that's a hot ass take. Oh my bad. That's a hot take. Cut there. That's a hot take, Flash. I say that because oh my goodness, you don't care about strength. That's half our job in my eye. That's half our job. And like I said earlier, I still found at least science, experience, anecdotal words from previous bosses, previous mentors, and you guys as well as you, like being strong matters. Like being strong will carry you a long way. So that's a hard hot take. That's a good one though. I like it because I could see your reasoning, but I can't agree. But I like it. That's a good hot take.
Our
I
actually,
second
just want to
title
add that.
is performance coach. Our second title is a performance coach. You have your
Yeah.
strength and conditioning coach, but you also have your sports performance coach. So
I think I
Well,
have my take is actually pretty similar to Flash's in a sense. Because what I was going to say is mine's actually, I got this from Stu McMillan, and Stu McMillan is one of the best Olympic sprint coaches out there. I love his stuff. But and I've started to notice this. My hot take is that force is the least important when it comes to sprinting. And I say that because the more and more, because I've experienced this myself too. Like you can get as strong as squat as you want. You can get as strong as a clean you want and all these different things. But does that make you the fastest athletes? I just haven't seen it. And so that's why I'm going to bring this back to coordination. And I really do believe if you're able to coordinate your limbs, to strike the ground efficiently at the right time, like, because I'm just looking at all these super fast sprinters and like they're not big guys. Like we're talking about guys that are like 160. Now, force is important, don't get me wrong. You definitely want to like increase your strength in the weight room and your force. That is important. But I am starting to I feel like it's not the most important the more I've seen. And I think it's actually coordination, to be honest. And maybe
Welcome to the
rhythm
dark
to go
side.
along with that. But force is still important though. Force is absolutely still important, but I don't think it's necessarily the most important. So
I could agree with that. You started saying, I think you, and I correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said force was the least important. I'm like, all right, hold up. It still matters.
yes.
It still matters, but I
Yes.
definitely agree. Like coordination, you got to learn how to time, how to turn on muscles correctly, and you use them in the correct motion. But damn, you guys are making me question everything right now.
So
All
what's your
right.
hot take then, Jesus? Or on, you got one?
It,
You got one ready?
No, no,
go ahead,
just go first. Go first.
well, it sounds like my hot take is I'm gonna try to build a strong athlete no matter what. At the end of the day, I think there's limits. I think there's like gonna be a certain point where if I'm a 500-pound squatter, is that really? If I make it a 600, is it gonna make me a better athlete? More than I already am? Probably not. But I still think there is no
with becoming. Can you guys still hear me? My AirPods just died.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There you go, perfect. So, even though force direct does not directly associate itself with athletic performance, I'm still gonna harp and I'm still gonna make sure we build a strong athlete so they could just produce that much force in whatever motion, whatever pattern they need to. They have a tank they could access to, but however many they need depends on skill and depends on how we're able to kind of transfer that force into a faster movement, which is kind of like rate coding, which is sending a signal down the nervous system faster. But I'm still not going to ignore it, and I'm still not going to disregard that strength is important. And I could be wrong. I could be like, you know what, Jesus, if I got a skinny guy that benches 180, or maybe even less, let's make it 135, but he's the fastest guy in the world. Let's make it even more specific. Let's say he squats 150, but he's the fastest guy in the world. I'm like, you proved me wrong. This dude doesn't need to be strong. I don't know how he does it, but he does it right. But I haven't seen that. And maybe I need to do a little more deep diving of the literature, a little more deep diving at faster athletes because a little mind blown here.
Question for you, Jesus. Who's a better athlete in their prime, Flash or Larry Wheels?
Flash. But,
All right, rest my
Appreciate
but
case.
that.
Larry Wheels doesn't train for force. He trains for
Appreciate
volume.
that.
I'm just
Am I the only one that
shout
knows
out
like his?
Flash Fridays.
Yes, sir.
Yes, dude. Yes, miss that stuff. Am I the only one that knows Jesus just like keep on flexing his arms, just like rubbing his shoulders, trying to flex so
Oh,
hard?
I'm not flexing
We
nothing.
hit a nerve with Jesus talking about how we don't care about strength. He starts looking at his arms
That's
now.
what I'm saying, dude. Dude's like,
That's all I have.
oh
That's all
yeah,
I
guys, my
have.
AirPods. Oh man, starts rubbing his shoulders for like a good 5 minutes. But okay, I think I found my hot take. All right, might get a little hate or canceled, so someone stop me while they still can. I think us as a strength coach should practice what we preach, not just towards our athletes. And what I mean by that is that if we are preaching for you to work hard, look good, be healthy, fast, whatever, or not fast, but you know what I'm getting at. Us strength coaches have to set that same standard towards ourselves. If I want my athletes to look good, be strong, I myself have to also look like that. I don't if I was an athlete and if my coach does not look good, I'm not going to listen to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the
Yeah,
talk.
man. Because what like I get it. We're in the weight room for like 6, 8, 10 hours. We're tired of looking at it. We just want to get out of here. But you still have to set that standard to where we have to still keep our bodies healthy. And that's just helping us mentally too. Like we can't just slob our bodies away once we get home. Because then as time goes by, we're just gonna look like we're just gonna look fat. Like I'm sorry, like we're just gonna look fat, and that's just the truth of it. I'm not gonna listen to a coach that looks like that.
Yeah. Great takes. I think that's a good spot to wrap up. So I'm gonna hit this stop record button and then we'll have our little after party here. Appreciate the insight there, fellas.